Hi everyone! I am in the middle of cooking and realize I did not film an intro. So here's your quick little intro. Today I'll be cooking boeuf en daube. I believe it translates to like beef in stew. Boeuf en daube. Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so I wasn't completely wrong, but here's the thing. My friend said, do you mean ragout? And I was like, ragout? Like this ragout? And she was like, non, je veux dire ragout de bœuf. Like beef stew. And I was like, okay, like the stew. Not because I didn't believe her, but I was so confused. So I did some research, which meant... Okay, so the name's really just dependent on where you live, and I'm guessing the name boeuf en daube is more commonly used on the countryside of France. Anyways, back to me explaining things in real time.
And it's a recipe from To the Lighthouse. I actually sort of got a recipe from a video that I'll link below. So it's not like randomly created, imaginated from my mind. There is actually like some sort of recipe that I'm going off of. And there are things that I added that doesn't come from the recipe but comes from the book, like the olives. That's that. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. I'm also holding this up with my hand. It's gonna lean and you're not gonna be able to see me unless I stand. Yes.
So I decided to cook on my rooftop back home. It was 9 a.m. when I started. That's why I'm in my pajamas and I'm just unpacking. And no, I didn't go to Zabar's, just a reusable bag. And here I am just smashing and peeling some garlic, around 6 cloves, I believe. The smashing actually just makes it easier to peel. That's why I'm doing it. And I'm peeling this white onion and just cutting off the top and bottom. I end up cutting them in half later. I also peeled my 2 carrots. The recipe also calls for the rind of an orange, and honestly, it did not say the whole rind, but I like oranges and it doesn't hurt to just peel the whole orange. Moving on, I also added some cloves, as you can see here. I'm struggling to open the cap. This happens a lot, unfortunately. I've resorted to using a knife. I don't recommend doing this. I was not harmed, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And here's just a handful of those cloves. After that, I just sort of shoved them into these 2 white onions I had. I just continued to do that until I was all done with it. And ta-da! Oops, that's because of the wind. And I just continue to do this with the other onion as well, though you don't have to put on a smiley face for it. We do this so that the cloves are easier to fish out, since they're kind of small and biting into one while you eat isn't so fun. After that, I just chopped up my carrots into almost 2-inch pieces. I honestly wish I stewed more carrots because I think I like the carrots more than the beef itself. And here's what I got so far in the bowl. Just wait till I realize that this bowl is way too small. I also added some peppercorns, which doesn't follow the recipe because that's how I cook, but I had it on hand and I thought it'd be nice to add. Yes, I just struggled again to open a bottle. Skipping forward, I got some celery that I've already chopped, and herbs, parsley, thyme, and rosemary, which I did not add here but realized it later. And then I also got some bay leaf, which struggling to open the bottle again. But yeah, here's my current situation. Now, here's this giant chunk of meat. The butcher asked me if I wanted them pre-cubed, but I was like, no, I think I can do this myself. So here's me sawing away at it. It took some elbow grease, but I basically just chopped it into cubes around the size of my palm. They shrink to about 2/3 of its size after I've cooked, but still, next time, if the butcher offers to cut the giant chunk of meat, let them do their job. Fast forward a bit, here's me struggling to open a bottle of wine. This wine hasn't been aged too long, but it seemed good enough to me and I just googled, of course, that merlot might be good for stewing. It did its job for the dish, a pretty big role if I'm going to be honest, but I'm not a wine sommelier, so there's probably a better wine out there for stewing purposes. The recipe calls for the whole bottle, 16 ounces, and this is when I realized my bowl is not big enough. So I ended up switching to a bigger bowl later and pouring the rest of the wine in. Obviously, if you do decide to recreate this dish, please get a bigger bowl than I did. It'll just make your life a lot easier. Oh, and here's the pretty view.
One eternity later.
Forgot to mention, I left this in my fridge for basically the entire day to marinate. Here I am, just searing the meat. I've salted the meat at this stage. I didn't add salt before because it seemed rather unnecessary. Plus, I'm sure the salt draws out water from the meat, so that might not be so good when marinating the meat for a while. I had to sear the meat in batches because my pan was actually not big enough. Another issue that I think if you decide to recreate this dish, you find a bigger pan. And here's me on tangyun break. So I'm just having these heizuma filled ones, and I just like them. Now back to cooking. I also ended up searing the onions and carrots and garlic for flavor. Look at that nice looking piece of carrot. Now please admire this very up close shot of this one carrot. You can also see me here trying to add in a spoon of tomato paste with one hand. I actually have to put the camera down for this one. After mixing that in, I just transferred everything back into the pot, added my olives to simmer for about 3 hours.
Much later.
Camera check, and this is day 2. Hi everyone, I'm currently reheating the stew. I'm in another lounge this time, back on campus instead of at home. Yeah. I don't think you guys can see the steam, but I don't think I can show you from that angle. This is what it looks like. I cannot show you. I'll probably show you from a different angle how it looks like. You could tell that it's sort of like separating itself from the impurities. The impurities are just like rosemary leaves, probably some orange peel, and I'm probably just gonna scoop that out so we're left with the sauce, or like sort of the soup that's reduced to a sauce from the stew. Okay, so you could tell that it's definitely reduced from that line right there. Now it's like down here, so it's definitely reduced. Water break. Okay, so this is what it looks like right now. I know the sides are not that pretty, but it's looking pretty good to me, and it smells pretty good, so that's a good thing. It's definitely like, I just gotta reheat it, honestly, so I'm not trying to overcook it or anything. Yeah, the next time you're probably gonna see this is in a bowl with some bread. Okay, bring you guys back here. We're finally done. This is what it looks like. It's gonna spill, I can't tilt it. I'm eating it with a plastic fork because that's the only utensil I have on me right now. It's either that or the spatula. So I'm gonna dig in and I'll let you guys how it is. Obviously this is your favorite part of the video. Just watching me eat. I'm gonna eat with bread. I'm gonna eat some carrots and I'm gonna have an olive. I actually don't really like olives, but To the Lighthouse says there's olives, so I added olives. Cheers. The meat is fine, it's just like pretty tender. It broke apart on my fork and I had to scoop it up onto my bread. I think it tastes pretty good. You guys won't know how it tastes like. This is my first time making it, so I have no clue. I will bring it in to class so some of you guys could try it. Okay, so I'm gonna end the video here. This is the very end. What did I do last time? I think I rated the dish out of 10. This is maybe like a 7, an 8 maybe. I don't know if it's a 10. I think there's a lot of things I could improve on. If I used a better wine, it might taste better, maybe? I wouldn't know about that part, but maybe if I was more picky on my wine choice. Siren break. Besides that, one thing I noted while cooking it, or not cooking it, after I cooked it, was that the carrots are actually really good. There's only vegetables and onions. The onions were really there for only the stewing purpose, not really there for consumption. But I think that's all I got for today. Oh, did I rate it already? Yes, I did. I did that. That was my improvements on what yeah, okay. Sort of all over the place with this video. In the book it says it takes like 3 days. By tomorrow, this is gonna take 3 days. So around the same time. But honestly, you could eat it the day of. It just tastes better the second day. Because you're letting the broth sort of stew. And also, a clip I didn't show is me taking off the oil. The beef
is rather like fatty. So there is oil when you freeze it or put it in the fridge, the oil separates from the actual stalk, I guess is the word. It floats to the top and you can just scrape it off, and I just removed that so it doesn't get overly greasy. I mean, if you really want to eat the oil, you can too, but I just removed it. And I think that's it. Thank you for watching. This is probably the last Lithum cooking video for a while because it takes a lot of work to prepare everything and videotape it. I hope you enjoyed. Oh, I just realized by the time you guys watch this video, you guys probably already tried the dish. Hopefully you enjoyed it.